All right, thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Jenny, account manager from Brand Catalyzer. Well, welcome back to workshop 9 of our China market webinar series on navigating the e-commerce and social media landscapes. So I'll just start by sharing my screen, and hopefully you can all see that. And yeah, so before we begin, I just wanted to briefly introduce Brand Catalyzer on how we really fit into delivering this webinar series for you. So we are a leading independent go-to-market consulting and market agency hybrid, specializing in providing cross-border distribution and cross-cultural marketing solutions for China and Southeast Asian markets. And since the reopening of China, we've become very much focused on helping Victorian brands to revive and rebuild themselves for changing the e-commerce and social media landscapes that are changing in market, to really be better positioned for that re-entry success. And the go-to market support we provide brands does come from two aspects. So from distribution and marketing. And so that involves helping brands decide on and build their sales channels and the partnership side of things, as well as your communication channel planning. And so the execution of setting up and running your social media accounts, etc. So we do provide a comprehensive suite of solutions to support your China market strategy. So if you are interested in exploring any of these solutions further, never hesitate really to reach out to Christy or myself. But now back to the important stuff, to our workshop. Our series has covered many topics so far. So we wanted to give you a multi-dimensional understanding of the China wine market landscape, which started off with a top-level update on the changes to the wine industry and its consumers. We then laid out the China e-commerce sales touchpoint landscape for wine, with a deep dive into the Tmall ecosystem as that key marketplace for the food and beverage category. We then looked at the key social media channels, being Douyin, Red, and WeChat, as the predominant channels that we feel are relevant to the wine industry. And then to really prepare you for that e-commerce success, we covered on how to find the right e-commerce distributor. And last week we talked about how we could help you develop your marketing strategy that was optimized for the e-commerce and social media landscape in China. And then this week in week 9, workshop 9, I'll be taking us through how to set up these major accounts that we've covered and also build your KOL strategy. Next week, Christy will be finishing up the series with a workshop on building your e-commerce store and running campaigns that do align with the Chinese landscape. So without further ado, I will start off with the first section on how to set up these major accounts. So this section will act as a bit of like a tutorial walkthrough that hopefully your team or your Chinese partner can follow through or look back to when they are setting this up for you. But I will walk us through how to set up the Douyin standard official business account and Douyin store, then to the standard official business accounts for Red, before explaining the steps for your WeChat official business account, and then the Tmall Global official flagship store for cross-border e-commerce. So starting with the Douyin standard account. So the account registration processes here is very similar to TikTok, but it starts with verification through entering your phone number, which can be a foreign number, but entering in your basic information after at step 4 does allow you to just scroll through and view content on the platform. However, to actually use this platform fully and be able to post content, which is probably the most important part, and like posts, interact with the different accounts, you will need to perform a real name verification to verify your identity. So this step does require you to verify using either a Chinese national ID number or a Chinese phone number, which you do need to purchase or get a phone number using a national ID. So if you can complete this verification step, then a Douyin standard account is complete. If you do have a team member, maybe with a Chinese ID, or a partner who can set this up for you, then you will be ready to go. And many brands that are starting out marketing in China, so marketing with maybe a standard Douyin account can be enough to start achieving and working towards building your brand awareness and increase and reach your reach objectives. But if you want to upgrade your Douyin account and make it an official business account, it is possible with a few more extra steps and some costs associated as well. So you will need to access the back-end settings of your Douyin account to start the process and apply for that official verification, which you can do so as an individual, business, or an institution. Generally, we would choose the business verification option, which will prompt you to provide your business registration documents, being either offshore or onshore. And verifying your business account does incur annual verification fees. There is, however, no fixed cost in terms of the payment or deposits required for verification, as it will vary by the scale of your business. But you may be able to save on some costs here, as Douyin platform does have some offers available from time to time where you might be able to get a few months free or get some experience a free trial period as well. Next, you will provide basic information regarding your business, followed by a further identity verification, which can be done either through a facial recognition scan or a bank account validation that you make by depositing a certain amount, usually only a few cents, into the designated Douyin bank account. But usually this is kind of the quite standard way that when you are doing any identity verification, that a lot of these Chinese platforms require you to do these steps. But completing this step, this will provide you with a blue tick on your social media account. But this stage gives you a bit more, unlocks access, but still limited to some of the business account features. But if you were to wanting to unlock the full features and benefits of your business account, you may want to perform what they call a qualification audit, which is essential for businesses that want to live stream or sell products through the platform. So this extra step costs a few hundred RMB, but Douyin sometimes may also have offers to help you save on this part. But upon completing your verification here, and usually the qualification kind of refers to the business category you are working for. So being food and beverage, they generally help want you to provide qualification documents that are relevant to the business category you are opening this account for. But once you do complete that, you will be able to access this merchant page and be able to set up functions on your homepage, such as appointment bookings, include your featured services, and so on. And then with that, your business account is really ready to go. So here we summarize the eligibility and a list of required documents for your Douyin business account application. So compared to other platforms, Douyin is the only one that has an eligibility requirement, being that your standard account must have at least 500 followers before you can start applying and being eligible to apply. So brands will need to spend some time first to build your standard accounts before progressing to this stage. But in terms of documents and information, you will need to have your logo, your account name, your brand introduction, usually within 20 Chinese characters, an English and Chinese translation copy of your certificate of business registration, You also need a legal representative for your business that has a Chinese national ID. Also, a contact number, which we recommend to use a Chinese number as well. And then lastly, your verification and annual fees, which vary from hundreds to thousands. But upon applying for your verified account and you filling in these details, Douyin will be able to provide you with a more exact cost indication for this. But once you have a Douyin business account, you can then set up a Douyin cross-border store as well through the 全球购, which is the Douyin e-commerce global site. Or you can also access it through the Douyin store website. But you will need to just log into your Douyin account and then choose the store type to apply for, which is the cross-border merchant option. A key part about being able to set up your Douyin cross-border store is that you will need a local domestic guarantor company. So this is Douyin trying to ensure that foreign businesses have a local point of guarantee to ensure that your business is compliant and legitimate in its trade, basically. But from your own business company side, you will need to prepare, details of your business registration along with a Chinese translated copy of it. You also need an authorization declaration form that is evidence of your company authorizing a legal representative of the guarantor company you have engaged with. In this part, you can use the template provided by the Douyin platform to fill in accordingly. And then you will need to upload a business bank account opening letter or a bank statement, also along with the Chinese copy of it. And then for your guarantor company side, which could be a partnering distributor or a trade partner of yours, or an e-commerce operations agency, you will also need them to provide their local business license or registration documentation, as well as any identity documents for the legal representative of the guarantor company. And this person should be the same authorized person in your authorization declaration letter here. And then lastly here, you will need to complete a guarantee declaration as a statement of liability guarantee between your company and the guarantor company. And this also, the Douyin has provided a template, and then so you fill that in and just need to be stamped by both parties. And the next part of the application, you will complete the store's information, which is pretty straightforward. Your store name, your store logos, your business category, and then selecting your store type, which is typically the flagship store, which is a brand-owned store. There may be other forms of store types, including the specialty stores, which is operated by an authorized reseller or distributor of your brand. There's also a franchise store, which is a reseller or distributor store with authorization to sell multiple brands. So usually distributors that are partnering with multiple brands, they run their own retail store, they will probably open more of a franchise store. But in selecting the business category, for example, we'd probably select the food and beverage category. You will then need to complete they call the qualification process, which involves uploading the trademark registrations and details of the store operation manager. So this person will need to be Chinese speaking, as the Douyin platform will contact this person regarding matters on your Douyin store. But with that, you do complete the application and that will be ready for review. And here to summarize the list of documents that you will require here for opening a Douyin cross-border store, in addition to the business account verification. So if you don't have a domestic business registration, which majority brands don't, you will need to have a domestic guarantor company registration documents ready. So along with the authorization form, the declaration of guarantee, and having the identity documents of your authorized representative, as well as a copy of your company trademark, and also a one-time refundable security deposit, which starts from around 20,000 AUD. So even though it's refundable, this deposit fee is quite substantial. So it is something to consider along with the annual fees and commission that does get incurred with the Douyin platform. So from a cost perspective, many brands who don't have capacity to open their own store may try to partner with retailers or influencers who have a Douyin storefront already, to sell their own products through their channels, through these partnering channels. But you will come across some form of premium working with them, but that is because of these fees that Douyin has in place as well. And next we come to Little Red Book, so the Red account setup, and starting with the standard account. And similarly to Douyin, you register an account using your phone number, but you can also do it through WeChat or other login methods. It is more recommended to use a domestic Chinese number because many platforms in China are changing so frequently nowadays. Sometimes they might start restricting foreign number access. But I guess the key point is generally anyone can open their own standard account, and that step does allow you to explore, post content, and engage with others, making this type of account, very similar to just an Instagram personal account that we are using. However, for brands and businesses, we always recommend to open an official business account. Not only does it give you the blue tick for credibility, but from a community management perspective, you can get better traffic priority from the platform. You can get deeper insights for content performance and audience analysis. You can also create giveaway posts, which is generally restricted on the platform. You can also create topics for people to hashtag and talk about and trending through the search bar. And you can also connect your account to other linked Red stores. And then while you may not plan this in your initial phases, but your business account also allows you or gives you the option to open your Red store. And then you'll be able to create product posts and also conduct live streaming. But I guess another more important thing is also for the paid advertising is you do get a more comprehensive access to ad promotion, which is always fundamental for your account building and your brand awareness building as well. But to perform your official business account verification, you will need to access and log into the Red Professional website, and to selecting to upgrade your account through following the prompts, you will then fill in the account and company information, including your Red account name and logo, as well as submitting your certificate of business registration, both the original copy and a Chinese translated version. And then you will fill out the business account application form, which is a template provided by Red, and that will need to be stamped or signed by a managerial level representative of your brand or company. And next, you will include brand information. So if you have more than one brand under this Red account, you can then fill the details in accordingly, or just upload the details of your single brand. And then you'll need to provide your trademark registration certificate or a trademark authorization letter if your trade partner is opening this brand account on your behalf. And these documents also need to be in both English and attached with a Chinese translated copy. And then to move on to selecting the account identity, or in other words, your business category, which we can select as either like a winery or a wine brand. But based on the business category you select, you will need to provide some sort of supporting qualification documents. The platform will give you a list of options that you can choose to provide at least one of, but that usually can be your custom declaration form, your certificate of country origin, or any of the quality and safety certificates, documents usually required if you are selling and exporting to China. And next is providing information about your operator for the Red business account. This person will need to have a Chinese national ID and a WeChat account as well. And also needs to be the same person on your application form or authorization letter. And they will then need to verify their identity, either through scanning the QR code for facial recognition, or you can also upload a copy of their passport. And once that is complete, the application is complete and submitted for review. There may be some cases where the platform audit agent may request for further documentation, but they will do so and communicate through the operator details that you provide. So here the required documentation for Red business account, with your standard account details, business registration, trademark certificates, your legal representative identity documents, and also your additional application letter, and at least one document of either your, like we mentioned, customs declaration, certificate of country origin, quality safety certificate, which is your certificate of analysis required for export trade, and then at times your asset company extract as well. These documents, again, will need to be in both English, provided with copies of the Chinese translation. And then lastly, there is the annual verification fees, which are required to renew the blue tick yearly. And then next is our WeChat official account setup, which is a bit more straightforward, a bit easier than the other platforms, but you will need to head to the WeChat official site to register your business or service account. Complete your email verification here, and then select your region of registration. And then completing your business information, including your business registration numbers, your account administration details. This person, good news, does not have to have a Chinese national ID. So anyone from your team or a partnering agency can be an administrator for your account. But you just need to fill in your account information here and then pay your annual verification fees. And usually that will complete your registration unless they ask for any further documentation required. So a bit more straightforward here with WeChat. It's similar to opening a Douyin business account, but without the minimum following requirements here. Next is opening your Tmall global store. So ideally, you may benefit from having an agency or trade partner to help you directly because it is a longer process with a bit more complicated documents. But if you want to take the self-application route, the process is very similar to opening a Douyin store account. But you can access the self-application portal through the Tmall Merchants official site, logging in with a personal Taobao account, which you can register with an email, a mobile, or just setting up a username. And then you would follow the prompts to start the application form, select your store type, being a flagship store, enter your brand name, select your business category, which would be probably a food and beverage. And next, you would probably provide more on your business details, including your business registration, authorization form to an authorized legal representative that has Chinese national ID. And then you would move on to providing your brand information, which includes your trademark registration certificates. And these also will need to be in English and Chinese copies. And then to provide your store information and store contact information, which completes the application process. I guess the lengthier side of things is probably the second half for the setup, but once you do activate your store account, you can set up your logins, but you'll also need to create an enterprise Alipay account to be able to link your payments to Tmall Global. But once you activate your store, there is also a store openings checklist of tasks that you will need to complete, which includes things like, setting up the payment portal, store policies, and having a merchant audit, and then also paying your deposit verification fees to also the logistics setup of things. But completing this checklist, you will then be able to open your store and then upload your products to your virtual store shelf. Again, here the list of required documents for your Tmall Global store. You will require an authorized representative and domestic company to be your guarantor. So similarly to the Douyin, this will be your trade partner, including your own, and then their registration documents with your Chinese translation copies available. Also, like Douyin, there is also a one-off refundable security deposit, as well as annual fees that will also vary depending on your business scale and particular product category we are selecting. Though the security deposit here is slightly lower than Douyin, but the annual fees are a little bit higher than Douyin here. But with the platforms, constantly changing and updating themselves, these prices may fluctuate accordingly. So that brings us to end of our first section, which a very kind of tutorial walkthrough on how to set up all the main accounts. And hopefully when you get these slides, you can follow through in your own time if you wish to do this in-house. But now moving on to the second part of today's workshop, which is about how to build your KOL strategy. So we've covered many platforms and have constantly been talking about influencers, KOLs, and the importance of engaging them as part of your marketing tactics. With the prominence of social media and content marketing, key opinion leaders have really truly emerged to become, strong, powerful voices that are helping to facilitate that brand consumer interaction. And celebrity endorsements, particularly, have been a really key part of the Chinese marketing landscape and have been a critical part of brand influence and being able to drive a sales success. However, I guess in more recent years, the rise of celebrity controversies and like the unstable partnerships, consumer preferences in the market, they are shifting to not only look to celebrities, but also these influential content creators who produce more niche and specialty content and have large followings and influence as well. So these KOLs are the ones who are closer to reality and more accessible to the everyday lives of these audiences. And with this advantage of that lifestyle resonance to their audience, KOLs are more expertise to create viral content that align with hot topics and trends. And so the impact of influencers and micro celebrities even are seen to really transcend the conventional advertising, become the new norm and key marketing partners for brands. So not to only build your brand influence, but also impact the cultures and lifestyles embraced by Chinese consumers. So that's why we kind of talk about it so much and mention that it is very important for brands to engage with KOLs as part of your marketing strategy. So you want to be seeing KOLs as your kind of other partners in market, along with your sales and distributors. But these people have that greater knowledge and understanding of their followers' preferences and behaviors as well. So the benefits for a brand is really being able to utilize this influence to shape trends and public opinions towards the wine industry as a whole, and then also being able to influence kind of the influence and I guess attractiveness of your brand. And having that form of brand consumer interaction coming from an influencer definitely helps shorten that cycle of establishing trust of kind of the whole category, especially in a more skeptical market and when there's also so much competition there. But when you are putting together your KOL strategy, assuming you've mapping out your broader marketing strategy and you've kind of been able to define your target audience, you then want to look at which platforms are suitable to reach this audience and also the type and which is best for the type of product category, being we are in food and beverage. Red and Douyin are really the best channels to leverage for KOL marketing, which are also highly relevant for other categories that like beauty, fashion, and lifestyle content, things we usually want to associate our category to as well. But once you decide on the platforms, you then want to find the KOLs of the right fit with your brand and also the product and that you want to work with and have potentially a similar following to the target audience that you're trying to sell your products to. And then when you do approach these KOLs, you will need to put together some sort of brief, and that's being able to communicate which type of content or mix of content that you want these KOLs to create and deliver your messaging. So from a content format point of view, you'll generally take three directions. A static article post that shares key imagery of your products or brand relevant photos, combined with your captions that generally convey very important messages that you want to focus on, being either the product or brand focused. And usually, this format is more suitable for education, sharing information about your event or activations or your sales promotions content. You then also have video content, a great way to soft sell your products in an engaging way. For example, to have your products appear in KOL vlogs or even educational videos or entertainment videos if your brand is taking a bit more of a lighthearted approach. And then there is the live streaming. So if you are able to find influencers that either conduct live streaming as means to sell product or just to interact with their own followers, this format does just take video content to another level to engage in a more live seeding of product interest. I guess the only downside of live streaming as opposed to video content is that live streaming playbacks are not conveniently available. So it's not readily available on the platform. Whereas your video content posts, they will always be accessible by audience through either the homepage of your platforms or through KOL profile pages. So based on the different formats and content directions of KOL deliverables, you can also use and repurpose these content created for your own social media accounts as a form of UGC. And another component of your strategy is pinpointing the type of KOL profiles that you want to engage based on their function and influence in their sales and marketing funnel. So at the bottom of the funnel, you have your micro KOLs and KOCs who are generally your everyday lifestyle profiles. And these profiles work best for maximizing your seeding coverage. So you may want to work with this tier if you want to increase that amount of awareness and exposure of your product. And generally, you want to do so in kind of maximized quantity, depending on your budget as well. But when you want to establish then, I guess, greater industry reputation and credibility and arouse maybe a stronger interest in your brand, and that's when you may engage with industry expert KOLs. And that allows a mass audience exposed to the first tier to become more convinced in the authenticity of your brand and seeing it's backed by experts, really. And then comes to the top of funnel, harvesting and solidifying any efforts that have been done previously. Generally at this stage is when you want to be converting and having some sort of action done from audience. And that's where celebrities and the mega KOLs come into play. So this tier of KOLs definitely have very strong influence on consumer behaviors, where followers are more likely to purchase the same products that these profiles are using or sharing or talking about. And that's really due to that extra layer of symbolic and aspirational value associated with these KOL profiles. But as a brand, we always recommend working with a mixture of profiles because there is simply no KOL list that works for everyone. So you will need to find the KOLs, test and trial the type of content that works for them, and then also adapt and kind of see what your best practice for your brand is in seeing what kind of content is getting the best feedback for you. And to give you some visual examples of what these KOLs could create, starting with micro KOLs or the KOCs, we mentioned about maximizing awareness and brand influence, which can be achieved with trying to push out greater volume of content. And so the visual direction, we want to have really a balance between more lifestyle imagery and aesthetic snapshots, as we want to make sure that the brand and product imagery we put out there is appealing, eye-capturing for potential consumers, but it's also maximized in terms of the amount of exposure it gets, so it really stays top of mind. And you'll see that the imagery has a bit more of like these text overlays, and usually that's to help any of the audiences on the platform to quickly grasp, I guess, the key message of your posts. But static posts are generally a more common content format to take, especially when you're trying to maximize volume of content. So it's about trying to get the most amount of attention in the shortest amount of time frame. And that's usually done through these static posts. An example from a German brand, we see lots of KOL content that's focused on driving this sweeter taste of the product. So they're really maximizing its product exposure, the amount of times you see this wine appear even in one post. But it's really trying to present it as a beginner-friendly sweet water that they've kind of given a nickname to it. And we'll see that the social media reference is really highly evolved around that social nickname and product image rather than like a brand itself. And that's really because a lot of foreign brands that are entering China, if they haven't been able to find like a good translation of their brand that's easily rolls off the tongue of your mouth. And then, so they kind of think of these things called social nicknames. What's the kind of taste of your product? What's a fun name that consumers can remember quickly, but also not get it confused with other competitors? So social nicknames is something I think worth putting time to thinking about for the products that you want to be bringing to China market. Just adds a bit more memorability and a bit more fun for the Chinese consumer to also be sharing with others as well. But then to our industry experts. So here we see it's more about creating that high quality, informative content. So here with content, you may want them to help you highlight the product features and benefits, but be able to communicate that in a more digestible and convincing manner to really explain why to consumers why they should know about your product or brand. So from a content format perspective, industry experts tend to deliver better video content, as they're always used to speaking to their audience and distributing informative content in an interesting and understandable language. And more of the time you see it's more common now in the China market, even for us, when we're looking, we want to trying to learn about something new, a new concept, something new tech in market. We are trying to look for the most easy to understand walkthrough videos that just kind of explain it in simple language. And that's the same for wine industry. There are many industry experts out there that kind of be wine enthusiasts themselves, but they're able to explain these products in a more understandable language with kind of the language preference that they know their audience is more receptive of. So it's always worth looking for these kind of profiles that also align with the type of tone of voice that maybe your brand is trying to create as well. And then moving to celebrities. So more and more celebrities really are opening their own Red and Douyin accounts, which has become their key channel for that fan communication and also brand partnerships. So it's kind of like another form of income for them, really. But a big part of their involvement, regardless of their level of fame, is about sales conversion. So having celebrities as an ambassador or even talk about your brand on social media has become even more effective maybe than some of your out-of-home billboard ads in some ways. Sometimes it's a more effective approach, I guess, to marketing. And because of their fan base, it does make them more effective, but and undoubtedly also more costly form of like sales representative for the brand. But an element of a celebrity that has made them feel very distant to the audience would have been a seemingly unattainable lifestyle that they have kind of been imagined to portray. So a very common way that brands engage and want celebrities to also endorse their products is through a more lifestyle, everyday snapshots kind of scenario. And that's really about trying to make the product's consumption scenarios seem more realistic and attainable to the consumer, but also have that sales conversion effectiveness. And generally, that also helps celebrities as well. It's in their favor to also become seemingly more closer to their fans and allow them to feel more connected with them. And we kind of mentioned the sales rep key term here, but a new form of KOL that has come about is also called KOS. So this has become more prominent recently. KOS combines key opinion leaders with the function of a sales representative, so key opinion sales. It's about having a brand sales consultant that creates their profile on social media with kind of their key objective and function of posting content to really sell your product. So you can imagine that they will be representing your brand. They will have that specialized knowledge and attributes of a salesperson, but they will also be the main creator, so the main content creator, the face and voice in delivering that content about your products. And this KOS role really came about first in selling cars. So that was when, car dealers were tasked to create their own profiles and create content to educate, sell and answer queries about what the different car models were. But this has really been replicated across to many categories and can be done so for wine brands as well. And the benefits here being the creator of content, the KOS can provide a more professional services, have that professional voice and control of the kind of messaging and content they're putting out there. They're also able to give more timely responses to the community queries. It also gives a more tangible and trustworthy image for the brand as a whole that they are representing. And being that the KOS can also be reached kind of directly through a platform, having that kind of peace of mind for the consumer, if they need help with their purchase or their product, they can also speak to them and comment directly on their profile page. But being a sales, a KOS can really deliver that first-hand information and first-hand updates on the brand or product that people can really turn to and feel assured by. And from having a KOS, this could help brands really integrate an online and offline traffic kind of dynamic where KOS can guide audience to the relevant channels based on their specific needs or where they're located demographically. And then also being able to provide that timely and targeted advice to assist with the consumer decision-making process. So in saying that, if you are able to come across someone in your team or partners that are able to take on such a role, it can be very beneficial to be driving sales for your brand. And a common actually way we've seen that, you don't even have to necessarily be in China. It doesn't have to be, you don't even have to speak in all Chinese. Even if you can be working from your winery, let's say, or from your cellar door, you're posting some content. If you can add on some Chinese subtitles even, get some Chinese captions in your content, and that would also help operate the KOS's brand account. And that's something we've seen come about too for a few Aussie brands, not yet in the wine industry, but I've seen definitely happen in other industries like different agencies or like service industries. It's become very common to be embraced. And then here is an example of some KOS for wine industry on social media, such as, the bar owners or bartenders that tend to promote all aspects of a business, mainly products in their content, but you can see it more like a personal account or portfolio showcase of a sales representative for a brand. Common content we see on TikTok even is like a day in the life of like a sales representative or sales consultant, this kind of content is an approach that maybe a KOS would take. And lastly, I would like to just end with some points on how to help form a best practice in your KOL strategy. So starting with your channels. So you want to be looking into the key channels and select those platforms where KOLs really do align with your brand and are most active. And you also want to be targeted in your approach in terms of knowing the audience following that they may have, and also which tier cities may be relevant to align with your sales channels or distribution of products. And also to have that forward planning to think about how you can include demographics from the growing cities, like the other new tier 2s, tier 3 cities, even tier 4. And it's about you can start having these conversations and making a list of suitable KOL profiles that you think would be great to represent your brand. And you can also start even with gifting products to KOLs and then see what conversations may come out of those product experiences, and even feedback that they have when they're kind of experiencing your product. And you can also look across categories, industries to seek partners in relevant industries of interest to the consumer, being also appropriate to establish the type of brand associations that you want to have, such as in food or tourism, or even the lifestyle brands and entertainment. And with that, it will help with your KOL engagement if you do have localized support, quite obviously, but more from a Chinese speaking point of view, it always helps with the process to have that point of contact. And then to ensure the quality of your KOL content by being able to work with partners that maybe can assist you to find the quality profiles, but also be able to identify, legitimate followings from fake, or help you review content and then deliver quality results for your product and brand. And that overall really is about delivering that positive experience to your audience, but also consistent if you were to give an AOL and a KOL an experience to your seller door, for example. So you want to be making sure you are engaging with the right people and profiles. And so that kind of sums up all the key points that we recommend for forming a best practice for your KOL strategy. And that brings me to the end of this workshop. So thank you for tuning in. And if you do have questions on this one, please reach out to Vine Victoria team or get in touch with us at Brand Catalyzer. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jenny. And just to also note that we're in the process of setting up a Wine Victoria WeChat and Red account. So if you do have an account, let us know, and then we can cross-promote and help you promote your brands. And to remind, this is being recorded so people can watch it later. I'll send out the link soon. Thanks.
Thank you.